you want to sound more natural in a language, then pronunciation is a big part of that. But it doesn't develop from just speaking more. A lot of beginners just assume that the more you talk, the better you'll sound. And while that does help overall speaking ability, pronunciation improves best when you focus on it as its own skill. So here's a few things for you to focus on if you want to be more intentional about your pronunciation. My first recommendation is to listen a lot, because natural pronunciation is dependent on listening skills. When you learn any language, there are going to be some sounds that are just unfamiliar to you because they don't exist in your native language. It will be really hard to pick them out from other similar sounds just because you're not used to differentiating them just yet. You literally cannot hear subtle differences that a native speaker would hear. And if it's harder for you to hear certain sounds, it's going to also be harder for you to pronounce them accurately. This is why focusing on active listening, trying to understand your target language, is the foundation for good pronunciation. Because the more you listen, the better your brain will get at recognizing those new sounds. And before you physically pronounce things well, you also have to build a sense of what sounds good and what sounds bad, so you can more accurately judge your own pronunciation. So when it comes time to doing listening exercises in your target language, spend a little bit of time listening a few times over and over before you actually check the script. Listen and try to understand, but don't be discouraged if you find it really hard to understand a lot at first. I personally will listen to the same 30 to 1 minute clip over and over about 5 to 10 times before I check the transcript. What happens in the beginning is that I won't really catch a lot and it'll be very difficult. But I find that the more I listen, the more I understand. Certain words start to, reach me, and then I can start to pick out sentences, and I actually end up understanding quite a lot by the time I'm ready to look at the script. And the few things that I still don't understand are often words I just don't know yet. Then the next thing that I would try is shadowing. Shadowing is essentially where you take an audio of a native speaker and you try to copy them and talk over them at the same time. The great thing about shadowing is that you can immediately compare your pronunciation against a native speaker's, and then use that feedback to keep trying to fine-tune and physically figure out how to adjust your pronunciation to match them more. And since you're just trying to mimic someone, the nice thing is that you don't really have to think about coming up with your own sentences. The pressure of speaking is totally off, and you can just listen and focus on copying and mimicking those sounds. Also, you don't want to limit yourself to just the pronunciation alone. You should also be thinking about the intonation. To compare this to learning a song, pronunciation is kind of like learning the words of a song, whereas intonation is the melody. You can't really successfully sing the song if you don't know both. If you only focus on pronunciation and you neglect to consider intonation, then what happens is that your native intonation will likely leak through, and this will end up being the reason that you sound really unnatural. So what I do when I shadow is first I do like listening and repeating. So I'll listen sentence by sentence or phrase by phrase. I'll listen, I'll pause it, and I'll repeat it. And I'll do this over and over and over until I feel pretty confident with the pronunciation and the intonation. And then from there, I will focus on my speed. So I'll, instead of listening and repeating, I will try to talk at the same time as them. And I will do this over and over until I can confidently talk at the same time with them without like hiccups and pausing, and maintain pronunciation and maintain intonation. Another thing you can do is just get curious about how the sounds are made in your mouth physically. Tiny differences in where your tongue is placed, how wide or rounded your lips are, how strong or soft you pronounce things can really affect how the sound comes out. Because of this, sometimes the same sound across different languages are actually not pronounced in the same way. If you just get curious about why things sound the way that they sound or how things are made in the mouth, this can unlock a sense of awareness that will translate to better pronunciation. You can literally watch native speakers look at their lips and their mouth as they talk. What are they doing with their lips? What are they doing with their tongue? And use that as feedback to help you figure out how to make those same sounds as them. Then just experiment. Try changing where your tongue is in your mouth. Try rounding your lips more, pulling them apart more, opening your mouth taller, closing it. Just do a lot of different things and see what works. Stand in front of a mirror and practice, or record yourself and see what sounds better and what sounds worse. I also consider this a bit like flexibility. You can't just go into doing the splits in one day. But if you keep experimenting and stretching your mouth into new positions, gradually you will work up that flexibility to reach the correct positioning for the sounds that you're trying to make. And slowly, doing this over time, you will eventually get to a place where you sound more natural in your pronunciation. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about how I go about shadowing with some specific examples and breakdown, you can check out this video here. Or if you want more ways to improve your speaking skills, then I recommend checking out this video here.